This one is each of them have got their own charm, because I'm kind of like, this is written as I'm investigating, as I'm going through these things in an order that makes sense. So the first one was about Esmeralda Gulen. Second one was about all the nightclub girls that died after Esmeralda Gulen died. The third one was about Horace Dibben, an introduction to the man Horace Dibben, and his relationship with Andre Gabor Tiem Bozomeni, the devil himself. And then this one's called A Match Made in Hell. Number four is called A Match Made in Hell. And it really starts to look at Mariella Novotny. Now, I choose to call her throughout this news hound and throughout this article, I call her Mariella Capes. That's the name that she used before she fell under Horace Dibben's spell. So when Horace Dibben finally made her into Mariella Novotny and whatever she wanted to be, she'd lived before that by Mariella Capes mainly. And that was her first initial stage name, maybe, but it's where a lot of the source material and what I find repeated. She went by multiple names, not only Mariella Novotny or Mariella Capes or Stella Marie Capes or Marie Capes. She also went by the name Henrietta Chapman. And there was a couple others as well. When she was smuggled out of the USA by a coordinated effort between the FBI and CIA, she went by another name when she was on the ship as well. And later on, she'd go by the name Chapman Dibben, I believe. That's right. Yeah. So that's when they're trying to remain in hiding. She's literally in court denying who she is. It's quite amazing. And eventually, this girl, who we're going to follow the story of now, is going to drown in jelly. She's going to drown in jelly, people. You can't stop this happening. She a dead girl. She's already dead. And to be perfectly honest, anyone around for what she was dealing with, who she was dealing with, and the secret she knew, the trouble that she had put people through, a lot of people would have expected her to die. Officially, it was an overdose, and she was found drowned in a plate of jelly. Took an overdose, collapsed into a plate of jelly eventually, sucked it up, couldn't breathe, died. You believe that? I don't believe that. And this is what you find about everything related to Horace Dibben, Mariella Chapman, sorry, Mariella Capes, Henrietta Chapman. This is what you find about them. There's so much more there. There's a life they led, the life they thought they would lead, and the life they got. And that's like everybody, you know? Everybody gets this mix of stuff happen to them in life that molds them and makes them into who they are. Should we have a little look? We're in January the 30th, 1958, and we're going to go on through the story here. French Review set for the West End, and this is in The Stage, the variety section of The Stage magazine. A Quelle Folie, the most recent Folie Bergère review in Paris, is to be given a West End season in the spring. Jules Borken, representing the owner of the world rights for the Folie Bergère, has announced in Paris that he has arranged with James Laurie to present the lavish spectacle in London. Michael Gimafi, who has staged all the Folie Bergère shows for many years, will come to London to direct the West End production. In addition to the stars of Paris production, two British artists will be engaged to supplement those parts which no amount of skillful translation from French can overcome. Rehearsals will start during the last week of March. And this is big for some girls, isn't it? This is big. This is a French review. Now, what you might not know about one of these little French reviews is that in France, it's just loads of nudity. It's an excuse for rich enough people the upper middle class and the like, to sit in these massive cabaret shows, have a nice meal while they watch nudie girls do dancing cabaret acts, and have intermittent shows in between. Good time guaranteed by all. And by 1950, that was normal in Paris because it had been going for nearly 100 years. You know, it had been 100 years of this sort of thing. People know things like, oh, the Moulin Rouge. Oh. But really, I mean, I went to the Moulin Rouge probably about, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. Spectacular, spectacular show. They know how to do it. They know how to do it. But these things weren't accepted over in countries away from France very easily because there was so much nudity, and a lot of these girls were really young, so it kind of like skirted the law in some senses and was not always welcome. And this would happen with this Aquelle Folly. I speak French and I still have trouble saying that. I still have trouble saying some things in French. And when I say I speak French, well, I lived in France for a year and I speak enough to get by. So I'm not completely and utterly fluent. I can sing George Brassens. Non, ce n'était pas la radeau de la Méduse, ce bateau qu'on se l'a dit au fond des ports, dit au fond des ports. Yeah, I can sing stuff like that, but doesn't necessarily mean I am fluent. So Folie Bergère production for London, and here in where are we again? We're in the Stage magazine. We're on the front page. It's April the 17th. The last one was June, so this is a few months later. They were further along with it, and something interesting is in here. James Laurie has arranged to bring the entire production of Aquelle Folie from the Paris Folie Bergère to London Winter Gardens early in June. Michael Giamaffi is coming over from Paris to direct a West End presentation of the show. In July, Mr. Laurie is going to Australia to present his wife, Rosina Reisbeck, on a 3-month concert tour, and in the autumn, he has plans of presenting an American opera star behind the Iron Curtain. Let me tell you, this is the years before, 3 years before. This is a year after Kissinger's nuclear war and foreign policy, and 3 years before the Herman Cahn's on thermonuclear war. This is peak Cold War. Everybody's crapping themselves. Spies are everywhere. You do not just go, no one just goes behind the Iron Curtain to introduce an American opera star unless they are connected with some sort of intelligence service. So instantly you have to be suspicious of where the intelligence links come in. What does first point happens when these young girls get introduced into these sort of sexually compromising positions, and then like a bit sexualized, and then suddenly they're working for intelligence and they're compromising people. How does that start? Where does that come from? And I found that very interesting. The person who's going to put on the show, and this show, if you're wondering why I'm speaking about this Aquelle Folie, oh, what birds, I think it translates as, is Mariella Capes' first real entrance onto the scene is with this. She appears in this show. And she's advertised as the center of the show. She's the one who's put out in the press. Pictures are taken of her. She's becomes known like this. And this is just prior to her ending up in Horace Dibben's as Horace Dibben's catch. And so she's got to be young, because she's 17 when she meets Horace Dibben in 1960. Work it out. I'm not sure about any of this. The officials and the follies. Changes have been ordered by the Lord Chamberlain's office in the Folies Bergère Review Aquelle Folie, due to open tonight at the Winter Garden Theatre, Drury Lane. Officials told the producer Mr. James Lorry, that without the changes, the show would not be allowed to go on. He said last night, "We've made minor modifications, mostly concerning the nudes." So they came in as expected, literally on the day of the performance, and they said, "You're not doing nudes on stage. We are putting our foot down." And they always knew that would happen, but why were they there and what were they doing? And why don't we take a look at this young lady? Look at her. There she is. See what it says on the bottom. Mariella Capes. There she is. And this little vixen here would help bring down the British government and would end up in JFK's bedroom. That's quite interesting, isn't it? How it happens. And in this little piece is not that much talking about. We're going to go down to here. And they're talking. This is like the page is about, what's it called? What's that actually called? Saturday page by Noel Whitcomb, and it's talking about what's going on in town. So the chorus girl blushed, and it's got a picture of Mariella Capes up there. And it says, "We were sitting alongside the stage when the cabaret began." Is this the thing going? No. It was a big show for the reopening of a new Latin Quarter in London, and Dr. Lorenzo was sitting magnificently on the other side. Striptease. He certainly looked like a Hollywood version of Antigone. Antigone, who's mentioned in two of the other articles, hangs around in Esmeralda's barn, and he's just like pumped around here all of the time, always mentioned. He painted two portraits of Queen Elizabeth, along with many other famous people. At the same time that Stephen Ward was sketching some of these people, he was painting them officially. Antigone, Pietro, Antigone. When the chorus girls came on to genteel Edwardian striptease, he made a quiet remark to a Corrine called Mariella Capes, who was half dressed in coral pink negligee. All he said, she told me afterwards, was, "What an attractive costume." But Mariella's face went as coral pink as her underwear. And I figured that this was the first time I ever saw a chorus girl's blush. This is it. It's just talking about this going out for a night on the town, blah blah blah, and they come across Mariella Capes. Mariella Capes, of course. There she is, and she's a pretty girl. But there's something really weird about war and having enemies and having a paradigm like East versus West Cold War paradigm. You find that a lot of people on each side want to see naked pictures of the women on the other side. They all get constantly advertised that they're terrible, horrible, horrible people. And I think part of the reason her fame came later on is that she was kind of a Russian look, and she went by the name Mariella Novotny. I think a lot of people were attracted to that because they were like, "Oh, that's the enemy. Oh, dirty," and that may sound silly, but I think that really does have like this underlying it has an element of it within a society that's a war with another society. Like on the Russian side, they're probably gawking over sexy Ukrainian girls, and on the Ukrainian side, they're currently searching for porn with Russian girls in. That happens. That's what goes on. That's how simplistic sexual man's mind works. So let's close some of these and let's get to this. So this is by August the 13th, 1958. It is written, "Folly girls punished for nightlife. Angry chorus girls of the Folie Bergère put their feet down last night, complaining that they're doing too much work. For a week, they have been doing extra rehearsals at London's Winter Garden Theatre as punishment, they believe. The producer, James Lorry, age 39, ordered it after complaining that the girls were going to too many parties and getting too little sleep, that their dancing was suffering. Yesterday, pack drill was the last straw for the girls as they do a matinee too, said 18-year-old Jennifer Ruddock from Peckham. We're really on our knees. Last night, Mr. Lorry admitted maybe I have been a bit too hard on them, but we have 100% effort when the show is in Paris, and I'm insisting on the same standard here. I can't stop the girls from going to parties, but I can't let the show suffer. So this is girls being naughty and having a good old time, and them being put in their place. And there is Mariella Novotny. There you go.